and welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I am Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
And I'm Kyle.
We're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of Morning Throners podcast. We are about to get it right after the fall that was heard around the north, and we're getting it from the perspective of Tyrion. All right.
Is this the chapter right after that? Is that the last chapter we did? Was
Yeah.
Bran?
Yeah, Bran was the last chapter.
Come on, man. Have a little awareness on.
Well, I've been
It's
reading.
been
I've
2
been
days.
reading. I've been reading a little ahead, trying to take notes to get ready for upcoming podcasts, so I forget what's going on. All right. They say it in the chapter. How much longer is this after Bran falls? Do you guys know?
4 days?
4 days.
Yeah, 4 days. So 4 days later.
Helps that I just read this about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, right?
This chapter is what, like 4.5 pages?
I didn't
5
even
pages?
catch that.
Yeah, it's really short.
Super short. The next chapter is just as short, but I think the chapter after that is our longest chapter of the book.
Oh God.
So far.
It's gotta be a Catelyn chapter then.
It's Danny.
It's Eddard, right?
Danny's second chapter.
All right, then I'm all about it.
Well,
Never mind.
I mean, that makes sense because you don't hear anything about her for
Yeah,
so long.
you gotta make up
These
for
all
it.
kind of combined to one story.
Yeah. The weird thing is, though, I think both the first two Danny chapters chronologically
John's the
take
next
place
chapter.
before the first Bran chapter. So this, like, both Dannys take place before the book even really starts.
That doesn't surprise me.
It just her story spread out longer across the whole book, and like at the very end of the book, they end up lining up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
You speculate.
I speculate. So getting back into this chapter, 4 days after Bran's fall, and it starts. Tyrion wakes up. He doesn't wake up.
never
When
slept.
I
Wake
read this, I
up,
thought he was
yeah.
wake up. He wasn't asleep. Yeah, he was in the Winterfell library just reading books in Winterfell throughout the night.
I know exactly what book he was reading too. I don't know the title, but it was about climate change over the last 100 years.
Yeah, it was
or so.
about how the seasons changed or something like that.
Really?
Just changing of the seasons.
Yeah.
I
Changing
think
of
it
the
just-
seasons.
Yeah. I don't know if it's implying climate change.
Yeah, whatever.
Just like,
And then the maester that's sleeping with him, which I don't know whose maester this is. Is this a personal?
He was a
Maester.
septon. He said he was a
Sale?
septon.
Oh yeah, Septon
Oh,
Shale.
Septon. Okay.
Yeah, he's the Septon for
He's
Winterfell.
reading
So in the
the
appendix, it
100
says,
years of Archmaester somebody,
Yeah, but he was asleep.
but
Yeah,
it
he was
was
asleep. 'Cause it was
open.
morning.
He was
Yeah.
sleeping on it.
Yeah, it was some weird AE name.
Athelmere.
Irmidon's Engines of War. Who was reading that?
Nobody.
No, one of them was
Wow.
reading that.
But
Tyrion read it before.
Oh,
Yeah, he was
That's
like,
what he
yeah,
said.
this is a rare one.
that's the one that he says is rare.
Yeah, he said
Yeah.
he never saw a complete copy before.
Okay. Yeah, so this is something interesting. So we learn here Tyrion's a big reader. But you got to think, like, before there was like the printing press, it's not like every library you go to has Art of War and fucking what are some other famous books? Game of Thrones and Catcher in the Rye. You know, like
And
it's
The
like
Hedge Knight.
it's yeah, two of the four most famous books ever are from George R. R. Martin. But you know what I mean? It's not like all the famous books are everywhere. It's like basically there's books in Winterfell that are probably nowhere else, and there's books in like
Right.
every city that are probably nowhere else. Or
Well, that's
because
why
if somebody
I like.
copies it, you got to fucking sit down and copy a book with your fucking hands.
Right. That's
You-
why
you never
Tyrion
used to
gets
do
so
that, though,
geeked
right?
up.
Yeah,
about
they
it.
talk about that later in these books, which is like what kind of made me think of it. But like,
Well, I mean, like in real life, they used to do that shit.
I don't care
Like,
what
somebody
happened
had
in
to
real life,
translate
Kyle.
it.
All I
It's
care about
crazy.
is these books. You don't understand.
Well, I'm just saying
All we
that
care
it's
about is
insane.
Game of
That's what
Thrones
people
and
spent
our
their
Game of
life doing.
Thrones vocabulary.
That's a job that even Kyle could do. Just sit there and rewrite somebody else's writing.
Handwrite too. That sucks.
Oh my god.
In
that
cursive,
blows.
probably.
Holy shit.
Well, yeah, most likely.
Shitty handwriting.
Yeah. So Tyrion's there reading books, probably because. So I assume like when Tyrion goes somewhere new, he just like gets excited, like, oh, new books I haven't read, because he's probably read anything of interest in the libraries where he's from, like Castle Rock, King's Landing. I don't know if he's
That makes sense, yeah. I never thought of that.
So that's probably
Alright.
why he gets all geeked up.
And more importantly, though, something gives him not a book. Something else gives him a little chill down his spine. Gives him a
Wolf
little
howl.
goosebumps.
A little wolf howl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little no-name wolf howling in the night.
Well, yeah, because it's Bran's wolf, right? That he
Ghost
like
number
mentions
2.
that
Ghost
Bran's
number 2.
wolf.
Phantom.
has just been howling basically since Bran like fell asleep.
Yeah.
fell
And he's
asleep,
stronger
slash,
when
went into a
the
coma,
window's
slash,
open.
died, whatever Bran's doing. I think they talk about it a little later. Yeah,
That's
somebody.
later, yeah.
I think that's one of the quotes I have. But yeah, they say
With
like
Jamie.
it seems like the wolf's like actually keeping Bran alive somehow. Yeah. So basically, what we said, Tyrion wakes up the Septon, who's also fallen asleep in the library overnight, and tells him to put the book back, and then says he's gonna go to breakfast.
Yeah.
On his way out, he runs into Sandor Clegane and Joffrey.
With one of the coolest interactions of
You think
the
so?
book / show. Yeah, it's just like
It's crazy that Tyrion slaps the prince
twice. Not just
Twice.
once. He slaps him twice.
Fucks him up.
Once
told him.
he threatens him with, I'm going to tell your
Yeah.
mom, and he slaps him again. Like,
Well, he
that's
told him.
fucking
He's like,
great.
if you open your mouth, I'm going to slap you again. And he
Yeah.
says some shit, and he gets slapped again.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, though.
I think you would learn. So when they come up on him, they're talking about Bran. Sandor and Sandor Clegane and Joffrey are talking about Bran.
They're actually talking about the wolf, too,
Oh,
though,
yeah, because
right?
Joffrey's mad the wolf's making too much
Yeah.
noise.
Yeah.
And of course, the Hound is like, oh, well, I'll go shut him up for you.
Yeah, Sandor's like, I'll shut the wolf up. I'll kill
A
it
dog
for
to
you.
go kill a dog. How great is that?
Yeah.
Shut up, Joffrey.
Yeah, so I don't know
Fucking
if they've
bitch.
explicitly said it yet, but Sandor Clegane, Kyle, they call him the Hound. So it's not
The
a big
Hound,
spoiler.
yeah. No, he's got a mask. I've heard of the
and
Hound
they have
as
the
well.
dog's head helmet.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
what I meant, the mask, yeah.
That's
the
pretty
face
sick.
mask.
Helm or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
No way it helps him
Oh,
see.
No.
When Tyrion tells him that they can count over 6. Unlike him.
Yes, he makes fun of
he
Joffrey.
slaps him down a third
Yeah.
time. Yeah, that's a third slap.
That's a third slap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like-
Because what he says, like,
you're a
there's,
fucking
he's
idiot.
like, you can kill the wolf because there's more wolves in Winterfell than people can count,
Mhm.
and there's only 6 wolves. So that's where Tyrion makes
Yeah.
that joke. In Sandor, and then this is when Sandor first interacts with Tyrion, he just like pretends like, oh, who's talking? Is there a voice coming from
Yeah.
nowhere? And Tyrion's like, I'm down here. And
You
you
Such
This is
a,
a
such a
stupid
lame
joke.
joke.
and he
Grow
says
up.
like,
You
I'm
used
getting
this
old
one
of this.
before.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, I'm getting tired of this joke.
It's like calling a fat person fat.
So, all right, Jeff, you like Joffrey getting slapped.
Okay.
Why does Tyrion slap him?
Because he hasn't gone to give his condolences and prayers to the Stark family yet. And it's
Yeah.
been noticed.
So he tells him to
It
do
has
it,
been noticed.
and Joff's like, I don't give a fuck about Bran. Why would I go do anything like that? He says, I can't abide the wailing of women. Tyrion slaps him right away.
What a tough little cunt.
Joffrey.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can say the word cunt
Cunt.
because the Hound does too.
You're putting too much emphasis on it, though.
Because you can't do it in a normal setting. You can't say it, but when it's Game of Thrones, it's acceptable.
You
It's
dumb
like a
cunt.
Game of
Well, that's
it's like a Game of
that's
Thrones.
why it's so
word.
much fun to
You
say,
stupid
because
cunt.
you can load so much venom into that
Yeah.
word.
You
put all that emphasis.
Cunt!
Yeah, it just builds up. Like, I don't know, it's cuts.
Cuts deep.
Yeah. Cunt.
So
Just a little tangent.
there is a button when I upload these podcasts that says it contains explicit material, and I'm never sure like how bad each podcast gets, but I hit that button every single time anyway. So
Yeah.
I think we're good.
There's probably a podcast or two that
Yeah, you're
I once or twice throughout the podcast where I drop foul language.
But yeah, so Joffrey's complaining about Tyrion tells him to apologize. Joffrey's like, I don't care. They're just whining. Like, I don't give a shit about Bran. Tyrion slaps him. Tyrion says, if you say something again, I'm going to slap you again. He's like, I'm going to go tell my mom. So then Tyrion slaps him again.
Mhm.
And he's like, go ahead, tell your mom. But first, you're going to go to the Starks and give them your condolences. And then Joffrey runs away. And this is when the Hound, this is when he puts his like visor down that makes his helmet actually look like a dog.
Yeah. Well, he says the prince will remember that, little
Yeah,
lord.
and he's like, make sure that he
And
like,
then-
be a good
And
servant.
he says, I pray.
Yeah,
he does.
remind him if he doesn't.
Make sure, Tyrion tells Sandor to make sure he does, and then he asks where Jamie
He
is.
says, be a good dog.
Yeah, be a good dog. And he asks where Jamie is, and Sandor says he's at searching with breakfast, and Tyrion goes off to find him, and we get part 2 of this chapter. So yeah, he finds Cersei and Jamie in the guest house with Tom and Marcella, Cersei's children, and the next thing after that is this quote I have. So this is when Tyrion first walks in. Is Robert still abed? Tyrion asked as he seated himself uninvited at the table. His sister peered at him with the same expression of faint distaste she had worn since the day he was born. The king has not slept at all, she told him. He is with Lord Eddard. He has taken their sorrow deeply to heart. He has a large heart, our Robert, Jaime said with a lazy smile. There was very little that Jaime took seriously. Tyrion knew that about his brother, and forgave it. During all the terrible long years of childhood, only Jaime had ever showed him the smallest measure of affection or respect, and for that Tyrion was willing to forgive him most anything. So this is like a real short paragraph, but it tells us kind of Tyrion's relationship with both his siblings. Cersei, the sentence says, his sister peered at him with the same expression of faint distaste she had worn since the day he was born.
Which kind of gets contradicted here in like a second or two.
Well, it's strange because we don't actually get Tyrion's feelings towards Cersei in this passage, but we kind of get that Cersei isn't a huge fan of Tyrion.
Right.
And then it's the opposite. We don't get how Jaime really feels about Tyrion here. We know that he at least respects him and isn't an ass to him, but we don't actually know like his thoughts on him. But we know that Tyrion likes Jaime because he's the only one that's not like openly a dick to him about being a dwarf.
Right.
Well, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking before, where I said, that it seems like they still all respect him, though. I didn't want to get too far from that the dog or the hound thing, but like they still like he didn't do anything to Tyrion about that, you know. Like I feel like they like and Joffrey like didn't mess with him.
He's still like a highborn lord.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's a lord,
like,
but he's a highborn person.
They obviously all have these like feelings against him because he is little, but I think they all still kind of respect him enough to.
Yeah, because it's especially in like a time like this, like nowadays, being able to hurt someone physically doesn't mean much. But like in medieval times, if you could fuck somebody up, you fuck somebody up, and that's it. I fucked that guy up. He couldn't defend himself. I win. No problems. Sandor is like they say in the chapter where the kids are fighting. Sandor's like really tall and like has a burnt face and like looks very intimidating. And Tyrion's a freaking dwarf. He could destroy Tyrion like physically in a fight if they wanted to. Yeah, like to Kyle's point, it shows that there must be some form of respect there, keeping Sandor from just straight up like bitch slapping Tyrion when he's kind of snarky, I guess.
Right.
So the next thing that happens, Tyrion calls for food, and Tommen starts asking about Bran. So Tommen is the youngest of Cersei's children. He's what, 7? Same age as Bran, I think.
Maybe
yeah, I think so. Yeah, they were definitely
6.
close.
Yeah, so Tommen's 6. He asked about Bran, and he said later on, I think he says like, I don't want Bran to die. You find out Tommen kind of is friends with Bran after they've been like sword fighting and whatever for the duration of the king's visit. And this is when we find out that Tyrion actually went to visit Bran and talked to the Maester about it. And at this point, he just says the Maester said there was no change. Nothing's happened. Same state, which is probably a good sign.
If he was gonna die, he'd be dead by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jaime says that Ned had a brother Brandon, and that the name must be unlucky because Ned's brother Brandon was one of the ones that was one of the hostages that was murdered by the Targaryens, is the way Jaime puts it. And we found out in the chapter where they were in the crypts that Brandon was strangled at the order of
By the Mad King, right?
Yep. Tyrion says, this is when we find out that Bran's not as bad as it sounds. Tyrion says that maybe Bran's not the most unlucky of names because the Maester thinks that Bran's actually going to live. And to Jeff's point is where that quote comes from. If he would have died, he would have died already. But Tyrion notices Cersei and Jaime like give a quick glance.
Yeah, they give each other a look.
Yeah.
Like, uh-ohs.
I just pushed that little kid out of the
Yeah.
The oh fuck moment.
Like, oh shit, that didn't work.
And he saw us doing it.
And Cersei immediately says that the Northern gods
Twins.
are cruel to let a child linger in pain. And Jaime's like, what did the Maester say exactly? Quit being vague.
Isn't it crazy how, I mean, I guess it might be true like in other spots of the world too, but like anything's wrong with you, like you're better off dead.
And I bet you most of the time it's probably true. Bran is probably a unique case because, like Glow said, he's highborn, so even a dwarf, like it's kind of like the same thing. Like even though a dwarf can be
Dwarves, cripples, and bastards.
can have respect when he's a highborn. A cripple
Right.
can probably do a little better than a normal. Like if he's a fucking peasant, he's literally just sitting. Because they say the next thing they say is he shattered his back and his legs, so even if he does live, he'll definitely never walk again. If he's not highborn, the rest of his life he's going to be sitting somewhere just begging for money.
In a ditch. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true.
So
that's
like
true.
he's Bran.
I mean, maybe like you could be just like a farming family, like whose family actually cares about you and can like sit you on
If
the
you're
fucking
lucky.
bed. Yeah, I
If
mean,
you're kind of lucky.
Again, if they have money, yeah, it's all about like how much money.
well, let's just say he's like a normal like kid in Winterfell, like Micken's son. Like they're not just gonna be like, oh, well, fuck it, it's Micken's son. I feel like there are certain communities where they'd be like, all right, let's at least like Hodor can't even fucking say anything but Hodor, but
Yeah,
he's
but
got a job,
but he's useful. He's huge.
right?
He can
So maybe
10
this
ponies.
kid-
You don't need to be able to talk to 10 ponies.
He is huge.
You know what this kid could do? Maybe he could sit in the library and make copies of the fucking
There,
books.
there you go. There you go.
Oh.
But to that point, if he wasn't highborn, he wouldn't know how to read. Peasants don't know how to read.
Yeah, but you're just saying like you're either highborn or you're peasant. Like there's not like
Middle class.
there's definitely a middle
No
class
middle
there.
class.
I don't think there's very much middle class here. It's like merchants, right? The middle class is just merchants, people who make money
Well,
by
yeah,
not
merchants
working.
know how to count. They know how to do. It's not like they're just fucking. They got two fucking holes between their. Ears
I have
or
a few
whatever the
characters
fuck
in
the
mind,
saying
and
is.
again, it's not spoilers, but I have a few characters in mind that we haven't got to yet that we can bring up in the spoiler section that are kind of middle
Alright.
class.
Right, that's what I'm saying. All right,
We'll
you
bring it up,
disagreed
yeah.
with me.
Well,
Okay.
well, I'm
Fight
saying there
me.
is a middle
Fight
class,
me.
but there's not many.
All right, moving on.
Next thing,
I'm tired of being right.
next thing is he talks to Marcella, or no, he doesn't talk to Marcella. He thinks that I don't know if either of you guys. I don't have the book open in front of me. He thinks that Marcella looks pretty like Cersei, but says something like she's
Nothing
not.
like
doesn't
nothing
have
like
her
her
nature.
Doesn't have her nature.
She's
So I actually have a note on
she
that. Like,
cares
yo,
about.
him and John both noticed that this girl's stupid.
That Marcella is stupid.
Yeah.
I didn't take it to mean like she didn't have her nature. She's not
Yeah, I didn't
smart.
get
I
that.
took it to
I
mean like
didn't-
doesn't have her nature.
I
She's
didn't-
not
No.
mean.
She
I
was
didn't think
nice.
it meant that
No,
either.
Yeah, she was.
I think it's because she's not sharp. She's like,
She's
Is
like
he gonna-
9 years old.
is he gonna be okay? Yeah, she's not. Is he gonna be okay? No, he's gonna be a fucking cripple.
Yeah, I mean
That's basically what he's thinking.
that makes sense. I didn't think of it that way. I definitely thought of it more like she's nice, Cersei's mean, but John does think she's stupid too because she's like gawking at Robb as they're walking in the hall. Right? That's what you're talking about in that first John chapter.
Yeah, he calls her insipid. Which means stupid.
John does.
Yeah, I like looked it up. I
Okay,
was like, what does this
okay.
word mean?
It's a Game of
It's
Thrones.
a Game of Thrones word. Yeah,
Game of Thrones word.
Yeah. George
Yeah,
made that up.
Nothing is
yeah.
better than something just being a Game of Thrones word.
So the next thing I have is a quote. Right
Feed it
after
to us.
the Marcella thing. If he wakes, Cersei repeated, is that likely? The gods alone know, Tyrion told her. The maester only hopes. He chewed some more bread. I would swear that wolf of his is keeping the boy alive. The creature is outside the window day and night, howling. Every time they chase it away, it returns. The maester said when they closed the window once to shut the noise out, Bran seemed to weaken. When they opened it again, his heart beat stronger. This is what we were talking about earlier. Like the wolf, they kind of mentioned the wolf like seems to be like keeping him alive somehow. And this, which is a connection, yeah, back to the thing that I was gonna say is the start of this chapter, which woke. I keep saying woke Tyrion up. He wasn't sleeping. The thing that just like startled him to realize he should stop reading books and it's dawn time and he was lost in the library or whatever. Is that what were you gonna say, Kyle?
Well, and then Cersei is like, yeah, they're not coming with us. Like, fuck those things.
Yeah, and Jamie says something
And
like,
then-
"How are you gonna keep them from coming south of us?"
Yeah, they follow the
Yeah.
girls everywhere.
But they immediately like leave that conversation, and Tyrion goes and says like, "Hey, are you guys leaving soon?" And Cersei's like,
And this is where the contradiction happens.
"All right, what do you mean?" Between
'Cause-
her looking at him with distaste.
Yes.
Okay,
She says, "You? What do you mean? We're leaving soon."
I don't think.
Well, yeah, she's
What?
still assuming
Like it-
he's coming with.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
why would she truly give a fuck though? Like if she doesn't like him.
Well, she's still confused. She's
'cause
like, "What do
she-
you mean?
Yeah.
Not."
Because she
What
thinks
do you
at
mean?
first she thinks
She
he's
says,
staying.
"Gods don't tell me you're staying
Yeah.
here." Like, she thinks that place is such a shithole that why would anybody want to stay there?
Mm,
I don't think that's contradicting.
I'm just
I
saying,
don't think
like,
so.
if she doesn't, maybe it's not a contradiction, but
You're
like,
wrong, Jeff.
I'm not wrong.
I'm tired
if
of
you
being
don't
right.
like a person, why do you? I mean, she's like a concerned of
Because
why she's asking.
that's how much she hates where she's at. That's what I'm saying.
She's also like, she's not unhappy he's going to the wall. She's like, all right, have fun.
I want to argue with Jeff because I normally like arguing with Jeff, but Jeff, where's Pudge?
Who cares?
That is like perfect argument to back you up. Like,
right.
We have one of our friends who nobody actually likes. We call him Pudge.
It's not true.
And now it's on the
He
podcast.
And anytime Pudge isn't around and someone says, "Where's Pudge?" even if everyone in the room knows where Pudge is, everybody always answers, "Who cares?" just because to kind of bring home that nobody gives a fuck about Pudge. So this is
that's not true, Pudge. We love you.
We love Pudge, but that joke exactly is proof of what Jeff's saying. That like if you don't like someone, don't give a fuck what their plan is.
Yeah, that's all I was getting at.
But
what I'm saying is that that's her saying that she.
Yeah, but if you don't like someone and you think that's the worst place ever, they should stay there. All right, fuck you. I hate you.
I think
stay in hell.
I don't think this is meant to give.
You don't wish someone to heaven with you if you don't like them. You say go to hell.
I don't think this is or others take them. Right? Don't they say that? Did they say that again in this chapter? Somebody says that. I think.
No, I don't think so.
Somebody says that somewhere. Maybe it's the next chapter because I read ahead.
I don't.
I don't think so, Jeff.
Right.
I don't
we
think.
All have opinions.
Either way, I don't think this quote was meant to give any. I don't think this part's in there to give any insight on the Tyrion-Cersei relationship. I think
don't either. It's just gonna tell us where Tyrion's actually headed.
It's meant
going
to show
the wall.
It's meant
and
to
he wants to piss off the edge of the earth.
Yeah, meant to show where Tyrion's going. What Kyle said, that Cersei thinks Winterfell is just a shithole, and also to show that nobody at this point knows where Tyrion. Like nobody knows of Tyrion's plan yet, right? Because if his own siblings don't, probably nobody does.
Right.
Except for maybe the what's his name? I forget.
Septon.
No, Cheryl.
No,
Charlie,
Benjen probably.
Child,
She probably told
Chael.
Benjen, like, "Yo, let me come up."
Yeah. So, well, the next thing says, Jamie like jokes about it and says, "You're not gonna join the Night's Watch, are you?" And Tyrion's response, that if he did that, all the whores would go poor between like King's Landing,
Dorne, and Castle Rock.
Castle Rock and Dorne, which is like half the country, basically.
This is great.
Great
line.
Great line. The whores would go begging from Dorne to Castle Rock.
I was cracking up reading that.
And then he says, "No, I just want to go." Yeah, like what you guys said earlier. I just want to go piss off the edges of the wall. And Cersei's like, "Oh, this is foul language. The kids don't need to hear this," and like takes them out of the room. Even though her and Jamie were like just a minute ago talking about killing a 7-year-old who is like the same age as her children.
That's not crazy. Like just killing a crippled.
They were talking about Mercy killing
normalized.
a crippled boy, but pissing off the wall is too vulgar for her kids.
Well, I think it was the whore talk.
Oh, okay. That's a good point.
I thought the same thing. I was like, oh wait, yeah, he brought up whores.
He did bring up whores. Okay. So Cersei leaves with the kids, and now it's just Jamie and Tyrion in the room. Jamie says we're not going to be leaving for quite. So they're basically talking about like when we're going to leave. Jamie says we're not going to leave for quite a while, because Ned will never leave his son. And Tyrion brings up like, well, when the king gets fed up of waiting for Bran to wake up, they're going to leave because Robert does what he wants. He's going to command it, and there's nothing that Ned can do for Bran anyway, so he has no argument to stay. And again, Jamie says I should have mercy kill him. And Tyrion says, like, don't mention that to Ned, which is weird. This reminds me of when Dany's brother, Viserys.
I thought the same thing.
He says, like, he mentioned something about...
Drogon.
Don't say that to
sleeping
Drogo.
with
And he's
sheep.
like, what do you think? I'm stupid?
Yeah, like don't they fuck their own horses or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
And
what do you think I am, stupid?
And Illyrio tells him like, I wouldn't mention that to the call. Yeah, exactly. And then the last thing I have for this chapter is just the last quote of this chapter, which picks up right where Tyrion advises not mentioning that to Ned. It says, even if the boy does live, he will be a cripple. Worse than a cripple. A grotesque. Give me a good, clean death. Tyrion replied with a shrug that accentuated the twist of his shoulders. Speaking for the grotesques, he said, I beg to differ. Death is so terribly final, while life is so full of possibilities. Jamie smiled. You are a perverse little imp, aren't you? Oh yes, Tyrion admitted. I hope the boy does wake. I would be most interested to hear what he might say. His brother's smile curdled like sour milk. Tyrion, my sweet brother, he said darkly. There are times when you give me cause to wonder whose side you are on. Tyrion's mouth was full of bread and fish. He took a swallow of strong black beer to wash it all down and grinned up wolfishly at Jamie. Why, Jamie, my sweet brother, he said, you wound me. You know how much I love my family. And that's the end of this chapter, right? Like the very last quote.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He smacks Jamie in there.
Slap number 4.
The only thing I wonder going into this chapter is, does Tyrion know?
He knows something.
Or at least
Yeah.
assume
He has an
that
idea.
Jamie/Cersei are behind this
Oh,
before
yeah.
he goes to breakfast.
Well, here's
Because obviously after the glance,
yeah.
he knows
Yes.
about it. But does he like
I would
say
I
stuff?
think he's looking for the glance.
He's
I think
trying
he's
to.
looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows. He's smarter than
He's
that.
definitely
He knows.
trying
He
to
knows-
pry or prod. Is that the word?
Prod would be a good one. Yeah.
He's definitely trying to prod around and like see how they react to shit, and he definitely got what he was looking for.
So at this point, it's like, if he does presume this going in, he's pretty smart because basically all he's going off of is
Well,
Bran fell while he was out hunting. There had to have been a ton of people in the castle, but he knows Tyrion and Cersei are there together.
Well, and he fell far enough away that he couldn't grab anything. So, like, I mean, it probably looked like he was kind of pushed. You know, like, unless he jumped off the roof, how could you
Well,
get
they
that
don't
far
say
away
he fell
from
like
the?
10 feet from the tower.
I know, but he got pushed out a window, so I'm sure he fell further. And they said that he couldn't. He like tried to reach out, and there was nothing to grab. He's like there was no
That's a
ledge
good point.
anymore.
I
There was
didn't
no
think about
chance.
that, but that's a good point.
I never thought about that.
So he's probably like laying in the middle of the street almost, or on the edge. And
Well, the thing that I'm thinking about
Like-
here is, does Tyrion know what Cersei? Because like, why would if he thinks? No,
he
not
knows
that
she's
they're
evil.
Like,
He
so
knows.
okay,
Are they
if
fucking?
Tyrion
Yeah.
doesn't know about the fucking, then he thinks that Jamie/Cersei pushed a kid out the window just for the fun of pushing a kid out the window.
Oh, he 100% knows.
He has to know motive, right? He has to at least assume motive. Because at this point, I don't know if Tyrion knows about the sex or not.
They don't bring it up, but he's Tyrion. He's smart.
They don't talk about it that
So,
much.
like, does he?
Is that
he
what-
has to.
That
If he-
never came up in
The thing
conversation.
is, I don't know if going into this conversation, if he thinks that Cersei and Jaime were behind it. I honestly don't know. I think that for sure by the time he gets to the end of it, after he sees the look, he knows they're behind it. But
He probably has an idea that they were
the
involved.
only way I think he would even think that they were involved going into the conversation is if he knows about the incest.
Well, so I think he knows about the
I mean, he could
incest,
just
but I
know
think
that
he's
they're-
also like, maybe they did have a chance. Like, you never know.
'Cause I
It's
think if he
fucking
doesn't
Jaime
know
and
about
Cersei.
if he doesn't know about the incest, I think there's 0% chance he thinks they have anything to do with it. Because why would they? Just because they like hurting people?
I mean, you don't know what happened in those 4 days.
That's true. That's true.
Word around town was that they were
He's
in that
probably
came
been
out of
having
that
breakfast with
building.
them every day.
He
Maybe
might
he's
not
seen
know
a
that.
few more of these looks or whatever.
Eh,
I guess that's true. That's all I had for this chapter. I mean, that's the end of the chapter. That's all I had. It's a short chapter. So, real quick before we go, if you guys have anything else, we can talk about that. But also, Glow and Kyle both said this was the best chapter so far of the book.
so far,
I enjoyed it.
Why?
yes.
I mean, I like Tyrion too. So
This is the first one.
I enjoyed it too, but I don't like better than
I
the
don't
chapter
know
where
about it being
Bran
the
gets
best
pushed out the
chapter.
window.
Yeah. Well, maybe my
It was the most
spoiled on
entertaining.
that
Yeah,
one.
maybe that's ruined for Kyle because he's spoiled on it.
I knew that, but
So far.
like I don't know. I just
like when
enjoyed
they
that one
find
for
the,
sure.
The pups.
The pups are good too.
The pups.
I think it was written the best.
I think that's just because Tyrion's smart. A lot of people complain that they don't like the chapters with younger characters because even though shit's going on, like the kids,
Don't understand it.
like he like literally dumbs down what they're seeing. Like the one obvious one is when Bran sees Jaime and Cersei having sex. Like, oh, they're wrestling naked. But like, there's other stuff in there where he he uses the vocabulary of a 7-year-old and stuff like that when he's doing Bran. He says that the hardest chapters to write are always the
The
kids
kids.
The
because
kids.
he has to try and think like a kid. Like, what would a kid
Fair
understand
enough.
about this and stuff? I think the chapters, from the point of view of smarter people, are often seem better written.
Sure.
Well, I don't know. That was just like the first one that I actually kind of gave a shit about.
Okay.
It
Because
just
that was
the
like
way
the
it was
I feel like
written,
that was
and
the first big event now that we're responding to as well.
Well, also, I feel like the first book, like, kind of leads up to the Bran thing. Like, that's what all the that's not what they're all been about. They've all been kind of just background information, but that's like the big what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
And I bet you from here to the end where we said Kyle knows about Ned, I bet you from here until there, most of this stuff is going to be very new for Kyle. Like very little stuff that we're going to find out between here and there. I bet you is ruined for you.
Yeah.
So maybe we're going to start getting into some of that stuff, but we'll see.
Cool. Look forward to it.
All right.
Glow, anything specific why you like this chapter better, or same thing as Kyle?
So maybe it's not like my favorite chapter, but I'm saying it's the most entertaining so far, just because it was so quick.
Yeah.
He's witty throughout. It gives you a bunch of
humor in it.
information. Yeah, it's an entertaining chapter.
All right. I mean, I like it too, so I'm not arguing. I was just wondering. That's all I got. If we're good, we'll let Kyle go and get into the spoilers.
See you, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle.
All right, later on, dudes.
Bye-bye.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
We'll see you later, Kyle. Now we're on to the spoiler section of Tyrion 1. Alright, guys. What are your hot notes on this part of the chapter?
Tyrion's wittiness, his just the way he interacts with his family, just like his kind of no fucks attitude. Those are my favorite parts.
Okay, you said before this, you said you might have a small thing to touch on spoiler-wise for Tyrion?
That's not even like he brings up Wolf again at the end. Like one of the last
Yeah.
things he says is Wolf.
So is this something we talked
no,
about
he's
off air?
wolfish.
So did we talk about this
Wolfish.
off air, or did we talk about it in the spoiler section last episode? I don't remember.
I think we
off
talked
air,
about it
I'm
off
pretty
air.
sure. Yeah.
So when we recorded last episode, I had already started reading this chapter and taking notes. It takes me a while to take notes because I take them pretty deep. But I had definitely mentioned to you guys that this chapter starts, and we didn't. I'm surprised Kyle didn't bring it up, but it starts with Tyrion getting like real into the wolves. So he's reading. He hears the wolf, which like wakes him up. I'll read that. I'll read this one paragraph. Tyrion Lannister looked up from his books and shivered. Though the library was snug and warm, something about the howling of a wolf took a man right out of his here and now and left him in the dark forest of the mind, running naked before a pack. So not much, real short, but this makes me think a lot of like how basically every Stark chapter from books 3 on start with them waking up out of a wolf dream. Right, it's like Arya and Nymeria on the top of a hill looking at something, or Jon and Ghost smelling something, or Bran running as fast and wishing he could run in real life, right? And then it's like, and then they woke up and they had the taste of blood in their mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
That little passage makes me think of that a lot.
No, it's hot. Yeah, that really makes sense. And I guess reading's almost like a type of sleep for Tyrion because he says he stays up all the time.
Yeah, Tyrion doesn't sleep much.
So, like, I guess in his days he might have some sort of connection. Who knows?
I don't think so.
Well,
We don't get any of the details like we do with the
So-
Stark kids.
Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah.
exactly. So I'm gonna bring something up to you guys. A dragon only has one rider at a time.
Okay, I knew
I'm
that.
assuming wolves are similar, right?
Hmm.
Like we don't see a warg another warg's
That's not true.
warg.
I'm saying direwolf.
That's not true.
Who
at all.
wargs another warg's warg?
The Seven Warger.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. He does. He wargs
Seven
the
Skins,
eagle.
what's his name?
Verimir
Tom.
Six Skins. No, Verimir
Tom.
Six Skins. Thomas Evans is the lootist for the Brotherhood Without Banners. Verimir Six Skins does. You're right. He wargs Arel's Raven.
And
Right.
it's like they fight over it.
Huge change though. In the books, Arel's alive, or in the show, Arel's alive. Blah blah blah. In the books, Arel's the guy that Jon kills before he captures Ygritte.
Right.
Arel is in the Eagle. Like he has died and is living his second life in the Eagle when Verimir tries to warg it. And yeah, they fight over it. Would he have had that hard? But would he have that hard of a time warging that thing if Verimir wasn't dead? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
Like,
it'd
is
be
it
a little bit
hard
harder.
because Verimir's soul is in that, or
Orel,
like
Orel.
whatever is it, or yeah, or Orel's skull is in that, or is it hard because
I
it's
mean,
an
we
animal?
don't know.
We don't know.
But I think
Uh,
it's because, I mean,
But you can't say that a wolf has one rider because that guy's like, oh well, I stole this animal from this person, and blah,
No,
blah,
what I'm
blah.
saying is something that we know later on is that a dragon only has one rider at a time.
Sure.
Once that rider dies, they can take on another one. But that I've always assumed the dragon rider thing was kind of like a warg, similar to a warg connection. And there are a lot of not a lot of theories. There's one big theory that's highly believed that Tyrion's is not full Lannister.
All right, here's
Right.
the only thing I'm gonna say before we can go into deep, nerdy Tyrion and Lannister jargon.
I don't
that you're
think
gonna
he's-
talk about.
I don't
This
think
is-
he's a full
Hold
Lannister.
on. I don't think the Starks are just straight wargs. I think it's a much deeper connection. It's not like they chose the wolves. It's like almost like the wolves chose them type of deal. So
So that right there kind of makes me think of the whole like thing we talked about in the first Bran chapter. Like, were those wolves sent by somebody, i.e., Bloodraven, right? Like, or was it a complete coincidence that they just happened upon a dying wolf who dies in a symbolic fashion of the same way Ned dies, who is giving birth to the exact same litter of children, gender-wise, that Ned Stark has.
Right.
Either that's a coincidence or somebody set that up. Right.
I think it could be, we don't know much of the old god. It could be Bloodraven. It could be just weird shit that goes on in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't think the same connection of like Oral to a hawk that he saw flying in and had like a green seer dream, and the way the Starks are with their wolves are the same.
So that's interesting. That makes me think of one thing, like maybe do most wargs not have one animal they warg? But that's not what we see. We see a couple of cases of wargs. We see a Rel, and again, we don't know him while he's alive, so we don't see his relationship with the Raven. Maybe he just wargs whatever animal flies by at the time. But we
Yeah.
do see in Dance with Dragons, one of the wildlings that comes through the wall has a boar that they warg, and they have to be separated from Ghost because Ghost and the boar are always fighting, right?
Yeah.
So that guy has one animal. Varamir Sixskins, while he can take 6 animals, they're always the same 6. 3 dogs, a bear, a shadow cat, whatever, one other thing. So, but it's always the same 6 things. So it seems like most wargs are bonded for something for life. We don't know how they came across them.
Yeah, I
Obviously,
mean,
probably
you pick an animal that's cool, you fucking like it, you build that connection with it. It's like having like you and
Or
Luke.
pet,
It's like
yeah, okay.
fucking, it's yours.
Well, that's how I
Um,
kind of think the Starks are with the dire wolves. They're
Right,
building a
but I'm
connection.
saying,
They're raising
the
them.
wolves are doing shit like barking as he climbs up the tree and
That's true.
like warning them, and that's what, like they have a deeper connection than just, oh, I'm gonna warg into you now, and now I'm gonna fly around and survey the land. Where I feel like Ghost would like go look out and he'd come back and be like, he'd lick John's face for him to know it was safe, like some bullshit like that. You know what I mean?
So one interesting thing that I just thought about when you brought that up, and I know we're kind of real off topic, but I'll bring this back to Tyrion in a sec. This is going to be off topic. The wolves barking at Bran. So a lot of people think that anytime the wolves act in a way where they know something that the character doesn't know, it's because they're being warned by Bloodraven trying to warn the characters, right? So Grey Wind before the phrase is trying to warn Robb. That's Bloodraven trying to warn Robb. The Summer barking at Bran when he's going climbing makes no sense to be Bloodraven, right?
No.
Bloodraven wants Bran to fall from that tower.
Yeah.
That's the best thing that could happen for Bloodraven. So why would he warn him against it?
Right.
That right there, maybe is the only thing in the story that proves that sometimes the wolves are looking out for the characters without outside influence.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we're talking about, like, maybe they have some sort of premonition or whatever skills, or I don't know. They can, they're sightseers somehow, soothsayers.
But tying this back to Tyrion, I agree with you, but tying this back to Tyrion, because we got real off topic there.
Yeah, we did.
The reason I brought that up was, so Tyrion isn't full Lannister. So real quick, Tywin and his wife are cousins. They're both Lannisters. I don't know if everybody knows that. So there's a little bit of incest going on there too. I'm pretty sure they're first cousins, so not brother-sister incest, but there's something going on there. What is the main theory behind Tyrion isn't full Lannister? Do either of you guys know? Glow?
The Mad King fucked his mom.
Mad King fucked Tyrion's mom. Yeah.
Well, it's not confirmed, but it's
it's not
hinted
confirmed.
at.
That's hinted
Hinted
at.
at.
Rumor.
I think I haven't looked this theory up in a while, but I think the main things are
Also, he has a purple eye.
I think the main things are Tyrion has one purple eye, one green eye. And so far at this point, Tyrion's eyes are described as black. When Jon sees him, he's like he had one or dark. He has one green eye and one dark eye. We don't know what color, but you're right. Later it gets described as purple like the Targaryens. So he has one purple eye. the Mad King and his mom Joanna Lannister were in the same place 9 months before he was born. I'm pretty sure she was in King's Landing at that time. And also, the Mad King had made comments about wishing that the Lord's right to the first night was still around during Tywin's wedding. And again, that the Lord's right to the first night is the fact the law that was around up until 200 years ago that says anytime there's any marriage, the lord of those lands gets to have sex with the wife before the husband consummates. So the Lord's right to the first night. And Ares jokes and says that he wishes that was still around when Tywin gets married to Joanna.
Wasn't that brought up in Dunk and Egg too?
The Lord's right to the first night?
Yeah, 'cause
it
they-
might have been. I
they
feel
go-
like that sounds
Come
familiar.
on,
It
it
sounds familiar.
definitely is. The one
They-
dude
well,
like goes and
Roose
like
Bolton brings it up later. There's a
Roose
very
Bolton.
big theory.
No, it's Roose Bolton. He fucks that girl in the river, doesn't
Roose
he?
Bolton fucks the girl. Roose Bolton fucks Ramsay's mom underneath the swinging body of her husband for not telling
Oh,
them
yeah,
that they
like
got
right off
married.
the river or something. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
So, again, I hate to get off topic. I love to get off topic, but I'm gonna do it real quick. Well, and again, this is something that we're definitely gonna circle back to later once we get to the further books. But this isn't until like book 4 or 5 time, 3, 4, 5 time frame. There's a huge theory that the whole others, the pact with the others, is that they were being supplied sacrifices. That's why there's a secret door into the Knight's Fort that looks like a weirwood opening its mouth.
Yes.
It's like you're feeding your babies to the gods. This goes back to again, we'll talk about it with the Night's King theory. And again, this is not the show Night King. This is the Night's King, who was a Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, who apparently married an other and sacrificed babies underneath the Knight's Fort. The main thought behind this is the Lord's Knight to the First Right was a thing in the north. All the bastards that were produced from there were either taken to the Night Fort or to the Snow Tower, which was another castle along the wall, and given to the others underneath it. Like, why did the Night's Watch need a secret passage underneath the Knight's Fort when they have a fucking tunnel at the Knight's Fort, just like they have a tunnel at Castle Black? Like,
They
you
probably
need a
don't want to
secret
know
one.
people to know about it.
No, but who to know about it?
Like the general public that they were donating
general
to
public-
the others.
So that's the thing is you
So
don't
that's
need
his main point. Why do you need them other
why do
than
you need a secret
donating to
passage
babies?
other than to donate to it? And the fact that everybody in the north believes the gods are these weirwood, maybe not the weirwood trees are the gods, but they're a religious figure, right? And
Or I mean, it could
how
be
do you
like a
convince
safety
your
valve. Like, oh
how do
shit,
you
our tunnel fell through. The wall collapsed. How are we gonna get back? Oh wow, here's this tunnel.
let's plant a magical secret door 200 feet underground just in case our wall collapses.
You asked why. I gave you a
Okay, okay.
fucking reason.
And I'm saying that the way this theory takes it is Lord's Knight to the First Right's a thing. What does that lead to? Maybe not a lot, but that leads to a decent number of bastards that the father definitely wants to get rid of
Mhm.
because their wife was basically raped, and the wife most of the time will probably want to get rid of because she was basically raped. So what do you do with these babies? Well, maybe if you have a secret door that looks like your god opening its mouth, and you can, like, if you're going to try and convince people to sacrifice kids, making this door out of the god is a
And
pretty good thing.
donating, yeah.
And what does Craster say when he donates his kids to the others? He's giving them to the gods.
I'm doing God's work or something like that. Right?
He's giving them to the gods. Like, the gods don't attack him, or they take care of him because he sacrifices to them. So the theory is
I feel like Craster also thinks that they're the gods. The others are the gods.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but that's a similarity, right? So, but the main theory is that the whole North was getting raped by their lords, mountain clans, Umbers, Boltons, and all those bastards were being given to the Night's Watch, and they were being sacrificed underneath the Night Fort or the Snowgate, which is why it was called Snowgate. The reason people think the Snowgate was involved is because there's a thing that comes up throughout these books, and this is included in Dunk and Egg. This is the second Dunk and Egg story. Remember when Dunk and Egg are going through, and Egg is like being disrespectful to all the small folk they're trying to recruit,
Yeah.
and Dunk tells them like, "Oh, don't make fun of them because they know stuff you'll never know. They'll tell you which berries to eat and when it's gonna rain and stuff like that." And he's like, they might not be able to tell you who Queen Alysanne was, or who abolished the Knight to the First Right, That's where it was, Jeff. Dunk says they might not be able to tell you who abolished the Lord's right to the first right or this or that, but they'll be able to tell you which berries to eat and stuff. And when Egg says they'll teach me which berries to eat and how I can make poisons, and I'll teach them that it was Queen Alysanne that abolished the Lord's right to the first night. Well, Queen Alysanne did a couple other things. She stayed at the tower where Bran hides, right? Called the Queen's Tower.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And when she stays there, she's in Umberland. At the time she stays there, she's in Umberland. Then she goes and visits the Knight's Fort. Then she visits Snow Fort, and she makes Snow Fort rechange its name from Snow Fort to Queen's Gate. There's no Snow Fort on the wall right now. It's Queen's Gate. So she changes that. She gives the new gift, which is she gives away Umberland to the Night's Watch.
Is that
and
what
she
the
abolishes
gift's called?
the first gift was original, which is like the first 50
Okay.
leagues from the wall. The new gift is from Queen Alysanne, which is like the next 50, and she gives that to the wall too. So she does three things: abolishes Lord's right to the first night, which was only being practiced in the north; Queen Gate instead of Snowgate; and the new gift. So she takes Umberland away, renames a castle that was named Snow, potentially for bastards. Right? That's what snows are. That's what bastards are.
That
called
makes
in the north.
sense. Yeah.
It's like all these things are all connected to the same thing. She abolishes Lord's right of the first right as a punishment for ever acting on it. She takes away Umber and Mountain Clan lands and gives them to the Night's Watch and abolishes the way that they're making bastards. Coincidentally, this was 200 years ago, which is about the same time, maybe a little bit earlier, but close to the same time the others' activity started creeping up. So one of the main theories of because in the books we have no idea what others want. So that's one of the main theories. We'll keep an eye out for it. Any evidence for it. That's like the overall gist of it. And it's all about that Queen Alysanne is the reason for the others, and that's why she's brought up so much across Dunk and Egg. These books, they probably talk about Queen Alysanne 20 times in these books. How many other queens they talk about from the past 300
Nymeria.
years? I don't know if they even talk about Nymeria in these books.
They do.
That was my random rant for the day. Getting back to Tyrion, potentially Lannister, or potentially Targaryen. I was so far off track. I don't even remember.
All
how we
right,
got
so
there.
How did
but
we
Tyrion-
get down that tangent?
I don't know. But if
I
Tyrion
forgot.
if Tyrion is a Targaryen, I forgot.
not to get off topic, but I love to get off topic.
If Tyrion is a Lannister, if Tyrion is a Targaryen, maybe he has some. I don't know if you call it warg, whatever the fuck Dany has with Drogon, right?
Connection.
Maybe he's got a little bit of that, which is why, although he doesn't warg with a wolf, and like Jeff said, he doesn't have that special connection the Starks have with their wolves. He senses that there's doesn't Varamir Sixskin
He has
say
a
that any
glimmer of
warg,
one.
and he doesn't Varamir Sixskin say that any warg can sense a warg,
Yes.
and they know when Jon's there right away.
hmm
Well, all the Stark kids are wargs. They don't know it. Tyrion maybe is kind of warg
Are all of the
powery and
Starks-
doesn't know it.
Are all of the Stark children wargs? Is
Who wouldn't
Sansa a
be?
warg?
Sansa's the only one that might not be.
Is Rickon a warg?
Rickon definitely.
100%.
Although he never
Yeah,
wargs
yeah.
Shaggy Dog gets pissed off and angry and bites
Yeah,
people
no,
when
no, you're
Rickon's
right,
mad
you're right.
and vice versa.
I just
Dude, he's
Rickon's
gonna be
just
the-
a waste. I hope he actually comes back and is cool.
He's gonna be like a super warg, not a super warg, but he's gonna be like really wargy because he's at the Skagos. Where's he at again?
That's true. Skagos.
And like that has wargs, I believe. So he's gonna be trained up on it.
And there's cannibals, and not to get off topic, even though I love to get off.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I'm
cannibals!
just kidding. I'm
That's
just
a
kidding.
rumor.
Well, it is a rumor, but also Arya and Bran, who are the two Starks with the most potential warg power at this point, have both potentially been eating humans. There's a part in Dance where Cold Hands definitely feeds Bran people, and then there's theories that the acorn paste that looks like blood that they're feeding him in the cave is actually Jojen's blood. They're draining Jojen of his blood to try and transfer warg powers. Because we stop seeing Jojen when Bran starting eating red porridge that he says looks like blood. Arya is afraid that when she's in the House of Black and White, when she's blind, that they're feeding her people. She says she thinks it's people. Both of them also are the two who have the most like warg abilities. People think that if you cannibalism like enhances warg powers, and yes, there's theories that Skagos is all cannibals.
Isn't that also the worst sin?
So they say
Someone
eating
said
people is a
something.
sin. So, I think Varamir says eating people as like when you're in your animal skin and you eat people, that's a sin. But he says the biggest sin is warging another person, which Bran does all the time to Hodor. Back to Tyrion. If Tyrion's a Lannister, Tyrion is a Lannister. If Tyrion's part Targaryen, that might explain these wolfishness. So besides that first thing I read, to wrap it back up,
or
the
just
last
the fact
thing
that
was-
a howl of a wolf is really fucking cool, and if you heard it right now out of your window, you'd probably get goosebumps and a tickle up your spine.
Yeah, but I wouldn't feel like I was standing naked before a pack.
Running through a forest, shivering.
Dark forest of the mind. Yeah, and then the last thing, which is, I think Jeff, you brought this point up to begin with. The other thing
I have
was,
a couple points too. Not
Just
last
because I
time.
know that
we'll get
you
there.
guys,
Not last
just
point.
because we've already talked about it, and I knew it was going to be brought up. That's the only reason I brought it up.
Okay. So the other thing you said, it's mentioned at the end again. This last sentence or two sentences says Tyrion's mouth was full of bread and fish. He took a swallow of strong black beer to wash it all down and grinned up wolfishly at Jaime. Why Jaime, my sweet brother? He said. You wound me. You know how much I love my family. So he grinned up wolfishly at Jaime, which is a strange word that I bet you is not used often in these books.
Wolfishly?
Wolfishly?
That's what I was
Especially
hinting
because
at.
I know.
Yeah, you said that right.
Yeah.
All right, Glow. What else you got?
I said that 18 minutes ago.
All right, so the one thing I have here, Tyrion's talking about Jaime, and he would forgive him for most anything.
So yeah,
And that's kind of like an allusion to.
So this was going to be my thing that I was going to try and get one of you guys to explain. Explain the Jaime and Tyrion relationship come the end of Dance with Dragons. How does Tyrion feel specifically about Jaime and why?
He hates him
He
Why?
hates him because he was married.
because he
He
lied
loved this
about his
woman.
whore wife.
Yeah, Jaime said he paid this woman to marry him, but really, he lied. She actually loved Tyrion and all that jazz. And Tywin had all the men in the barracks or whatever fuck her, and then Tyrion had to fuck her last.
Which is kind of rape, gang rape, basically. And it was a lot of men because Tyrion says she got fucked so much. She got fucked by each person, and each person gave her 1 silver. And he says he's not sure how many people there were, but by the end of it, she had too many silvers to carry out in her hands, like they were spilling through her fingers.
So 35.
A lot, plus Tyrion, and Tyrion paid with a gold. So yeah, story. They pretend that Tyrion saves the lady. He finds out, oh, it's a whore. Then she gets raped. Tyrion finds out way later during these books when Jaime lets him out, she wasn't a whore. She actually loved him, and he raped her after a ton of other people raped her, and he'll never see her again. And where is she right now?
On Whore Island.
I don't know. I thought she might have killed herself, but I don't know.
Jeff, why do you say that? Refresh Glow's mind. It's like only repeated 400 times in Dance with Dragons. Tyrion asks Tywin right before he kills him where she goes. She's like, "Where is she?"
I don't know
And he
where
says,
whores go.
Wherever whores go.
Wherever whores go.
Tyrion
wherever whores
thinks
go.
about that to himself like 400 times throughout Dance with Dragons.
Where is Whore Island?
Wherever whores go. All right, yeah. So those were the two notes I had too. That's what made me think of it. Is right the quote you just said when he says he could forgive Jaime almost anything
Yeah.
or most anything.
So, and then another part, Tyrion and Jaime were talking, and it's when Tyrion starts defending grotesques or whatever. And he said, "Death is terribly final, while life is full of possibilities." Talking about Bran. So
Yeah.
Bran really does have so much potential, possibilities. But it's like both these lines. The first one's like a lie. Death is terribly final. Beric Dondarrion comes alive. There's fucking White Walkers bringing people back to life.
That's true.
And then life is full of possibilities. Bran's gonna fucking kill shit.
Yeah,
He's gonna war
So
dragons.
that's the second contradiction of the chapter.
The first, you're wrong. The second,
Also, quick note that made me think that the books are definitely going to end the way the show did. Is I was listening to a really old interview with George R. Martin, and somebody was like, "Hey, why did you decide to go?" Like the multiple viewpoints thing is a really unique. I've never seen that in any other book. What made you think of that or decide to do that? He's like, "Well, for a really long time, I wanted to make Bran the only viewpoint, but I decided against it because there was so much happening all over the world that I knew my story I wanted my story to be so big that it couldn't be told from just one person. But the fact that he was trying to make it be all Bran makes you think that Bran is
ends up as king.
Yeah, it needs to be done differently though. It's not going to
But
end
think
with
about it, like
Dany melting King's Landing and then her just getting stabbed.
I
Maybe
think
maybe
you'll see
Dany
as we
does
go.
melt
Dany is
King's Landing, but the whole like she's not just gonna like sit there in the throne room and get stabbed.
Yeah, I agree with that. But Dany's kind of fucked up. Like think about it. She crucifies what
126?
26
I don't know.
masters.
She's
I
my
think it's something
favorite.
like that.
She's my favorite.
And a lot of them are innocent.
Maybe.
And
Dany can
Astapor,
do...
literally think about this as if it's a real city with like live people. And yeah, fucking slavery is so horrible. There's no like extent to you can say to make it okay. But when she takes over Astapor and she takes the Unsullied, she says, "Kill everyone that's over the age of 12 that isn't wearing a collar."
Damn straight.
She's killing like 13, 14, 15-year-old kids.
Damn right.
Just because they're in
old.
a rich family.
Yep.
I mean, I get you're gonna say yeah because you're not actually thinking about it. But if you think about that, like it's a fucking actual people. You're murdering an entire city full of 13, 14, 15, like and up year olds.
It was war, Nelson.
It wasn't war.
It wasn't war.
None of those slavers had any means to fight back once she had 8,000 Unsullied. She literally just she did what she did in King's Landing, but without fire, just because her dragons weren't big enough. She killed everyone.
Kill them all.
And again, in King's Land, in the show, she does the same thing. She's like, kill the masters. But you don't see it. You see the Unsullied kill the bad guys who are immediately next to her, but not the entire city of people. I'm just saying, I think if it does happen the exact same in the books as it did in the show, I think it'll make a lot more sense just because there's more setup that wasn't there in the show.
If it happens,
I don't want it to, but I think
Yeah.
if it does, it's not as
I feel like
atrocious.
reading with knowing the end is going to be the worst thing ever. Like if we know, like all right, say Bran's the king, whatever. I think that's pretty fucking lame if he is. Because
I think he's going to do it way better. I think he's going to do it way
fucking better because he definitely can't go the next two books with Bran saying, "I'm not Bran anymore. I'm the Three-Eyed Raven."
Well,
and then all of a sudden he's the
king.
king. He's Bran the Broken, the king. That would make no sense at all. We kind of forgot that we said that Bran didn't think of himself that way anymore.
So I don't know if anybody out there,
we kind of forgot.
I don't know if any of the listeners are members of the Free Folk subreddit, but this week is like Peace Week or whatever, where there's some like the moderators are taking down anything negative, and everybody thinks it's a big conspiracy because the Emmys are coming up, and they don't want like the Free Folk, who's the subreddit who's super super anti-show, to like they're the ones who said they were gonna boo the shit out of Dave and Dan at Comic-Con, and then they didn't show up. So everybody thinks that like there's like a huge moderation on the subreddit right now because the Emmys are coming up. What would you guys say if David and Dan got the Emmy for best
that would be such a joke.
Best writing for the last episode of
I mean,
season 8?
all right, so this is how I feel. You remember when we were watching for the first time, like our gut...
it. The thing is, we have podcasts and us talking about it, and if you go back and listen to it, we were all pretty excited about all the episodes.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. Like when we go back to our gut feelings, it was like, oh, 9-8. Like, the Battle of Winterfell was like the greatest episode ever.
Looking back now, it makes so little sense with the whole Dothraki are about to charge with fucking swords that have no ability, and like, there's so many plot holes. Grey Worm's
Didn't we had to have had podcasts where we started talking shit about it too.
I'll have to re-listen to those ones.
Yeah, like we would realize the next episode, like that episode didn't make any sense.
But again, is it us realize like? If you would have watched season 8 and weren't on the internet and seen everybody else's thoughts on it or talking to people at work, do you feel that way? I feel like
I feel like I do because I remember rewatching it and being like, well, I didn't like that they did this, and I did have critiques about it before.
So Dave and Dan
scouring through Twitter.
Okay, so even though we can say that maybe they're not the best writers continuity-wise and like making sense,
they got us going.
They can keep you on the edge of your seat.
Oh, for sure.
Which is good. Which is great for the first watch.
Yes.
Subsequent watches, you're just like, this doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. And I still back up a lot of the stuff that most people complain about season 8. The main one is that like Rhaegal got shot down out of nowhere. Why would Dany not scout out Dragonstone? She does the exact fucking same thing in first episode of season 7. Nobody gets pissed off when she comes from Essos.
We kind of
she's
forgot
the first one
about
on land. She's the first one on land. Grey Worm doesn't scout out the fucking castle that's been abandoned and nobody moved in.
You don't know.
We do know that. She pushes the doors open and
there could have been a ship there already. And
you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
People get pissed when there's consequences, but not when things just don't make sense and for the sake of not making sense. Things haven't made sense in that show for a couple seasons now.
Probably about season 5.
It's the result that people get pissed off about. But I think we've been going way too long. This is supposed to be a short-ass chapter, and we just talked for 30 minutes about stuff that has nothing to do with Tyrion.
It's a good thing I found a charger.
If you wouldn't have found that, we would have been in and out of here 20 minutes ago.
Yeah,
it's all your fault, Jeff.
Okay. Not to get off topic, but let's talk about the stupidest fucking
I hate to
rumor
get off topic,
I read on
but
Reddit.
no, I love to get off topic.
Let's talk about the North for 20 minutes, even though Tyrion's only been above the neck for a total of 4 chapters.
Queen Alysanne.
Alright, here's our next Twitter poll. Do you like when Nelson goes on a stupid, factual Game of Thrones tangent? Yes or no? Simple yes or no answer.
I don't know if we have enough viewers for that yet. It's just going to be the 3 of us voting. Which I know I'm going to lose. It's going to be 2 no's and 1 yes.
Add Allie's superpowers will help us out.
Allie's superpowers will help me out. That's my girl. All right. But without going any further, we'll end it there. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank gosh.
Like us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time.
Follow us on Twitter. That's where we're at.
Yes, follow us on Twitter.
We're tweeting every day.
Most of our tweets lately have had nothing to do with Game of Thrones. Go check them out. We'll see you guys next time, and John, too.
Whoop, whoop.